one of the questions that I ask everybody is, what does cloud native mean, actually? What do you think that term means?
Oh, that's a very good question. So I think that cloud native, when we talk about cloud native applications, we're talking about applications that were engineered with the idea that they would always run exclusively in the cloud. Mm-hmm. So they are applications that are engineered to run on the stack that one sees from public clouds today. A cloud native application will not have any dedicated hardware sitting in a dedicated rack in a data center that is driving, the database or the storage or the compute for that application. So to me, a cloud native application is an application designed at inception to run exclusively on public cloud infrastructure. The extension of that is what people are talking about a little bit now as multi-cloud native applications. Those are cloud native applications that are designed at inception to stay away from some of the technologies that some of the hyperscale clouds offer that will explicitly kind of lock you into their platform. Right. So it's an application that's designed with the intent of being able to run across multiple different cloud environments concurrently. And what we are seeing in the market, and I think this has become quite conventional wisdom, and for us, a few years ago when we were starting Ridge, we made a bet on this really, is that one of the fundamental technologies that is enabling this multi-cloud world to happen is Kubernetes. Yeah. And that has really become sort of almost a de facto standard for how people are going to architect an application that will then be able to easily move between cloud environments.
Yeah, so it's really about abstracting away from the dependencies to the lower levels of the infrastructure as much as possible, I think, taking benefit.
Yeah. It's I guess I wouldn't even say to the lower levels of the infrastructure so much as simply, choosing a set of technologies in the way that you architect your application that are going to maintain that level of flexibility. And the technologies that are sort of standards compliant or open source, are always going to give you more flexibility in terms of the underlying infrastructure that you're going to be able to use than the proprietary ones.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. It's a great answer. So in terms of Ridge's platform, different kinds of technologies and use cases that are emerging, things like IoT, in manufacturing, or you're mentioning about being able to process data more at the, let's call it the edge. Which, by the way, I also believe that most of these terms will no longer be in use in a few years, but the technologies will.
Well, the term edge has been in use for over 20 years at this point. It just keeps meaning something different.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I'm also from the 90s, actually, and I remember terms.
Oh, look at you with that admission.
I know. Don't tell anybody. I'm going to edit it out. But one thing I remember are terms like information superhighway, which was the big thing at the time, and E this and E that. Well, nobody says information superhighway. They take it for granted, although all those things still exist. Yeah. E-commerce still exists, though. That term lasted and means something a little different now, and Webvan back in the 90s was a startup that was going to deliver groceries, which was a ridiculous idea. And now we have Amazon owning Whole Foods, so these things, they eventually come true, even if we stop using the terms. And probably I'm betting, even though I'm, representing an organization called Cloud Native X, I think in 5 years, nobody will say cloud native. It will just be part of the infrastructure.
Yeah, right. Well, that's absolutely. And the, I think that we'll maybe get more granular in the distinctions that we make about what type of cloud native, are you developing for and working towards. But I think that what you're saying is certainly true, that as something moves towards ubiquity, it becomes something less kind of talked about in an explicit kind of way.